Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today I will explain what I found while messing around with redstone, which involves this simple design involving 2 blocks, a redstone torch, and some redstone dust. With that being said, if you do enjoy, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. This all started when I was trying to see how many different ways there were to make some redstone clocks, but once I tried to condense it down as small as possible, this is where I found my discovery. But if you are looking for good redstone clock designs, the quickest but with a set timer would be the 2 observers, which is probably one of the easiest to make. You just face 2 observers and they detect each other, giving out the signal. But if you want something that's easily changeable, you just get 3 blocks of some sort, put a repeater on the top, have some redstone dust, and the repeater facing away from a torch, and that'll set up a reaction that causes a clock. The repeater acts as a dial, changing the speed for your build. So I try to go even smaller, and I only use 2 blocks of stone, one with a torch on it and the other above that torch. And when you place redstone dust on it, it starts a clock but then soon fizzles out. And due to the sound of rain putting out fire being played once the torch burns out, this seems to be an intentional design that I don't think many people know of, so I wanted to share its abilities and uses today. My first test was to simply add a piston, and this moved the block on top, which I realized was the cause of the reaction. So once I did that, I was able to start and stop this depleting clock whenever I wanted. This gave me control of when the reaction actually occurred, so I could start it whenever I wanted, but didn't allow me to change the length of the reaction, because once it started, the torch would go for a bit and then soon fall flat and burn out. But you could reset at any time, so it was a pleasant upgrade. I used another piston to see how much output you could get, meaning the amount of pulses that the redstone clock would emit before dying out. With just basic redstone dust, the piston would go up, but the signal would re-emit quick enough that it would stay up and only be activated once. So I tried it with a repeater instead. Now I had a system that would reset the depleting clock, as well as give it enough time to activate a piston more than once. You could change the repeater to alter the amount of input it was given. The basic repeater made it go up 2 times. With 1 tick, it went up 3 times, which was the most. With 2 ticks, it only went up 2 times. And finally, all the way down with 3 ticks, this would only move it twice, but very slowly. This condition, however, could be changed if you sat on the pressure plate longer. Fully exhausting your energy resulted in no tick going up 3 times. Then with 1 tick, it now went up 4 times, which was the maximum you could get before burnout. With 2 ticks, it went up 3 times, but much slower. And with all the way up, it went only up twice before the signal ran out. 1 tick had the most piston output. From the simple base function to controlling that function and to getting maximum output, we finally ended up at a practical use for this depleting clock, which was a minigame start timer. It was designed to be activated by a pressure plate similar to how we did it in our earlier tests, and that would do the same base function as moving the block over, activating the system. This system would lead to the signal going to that piston which we used earlier, and this piston would raise a redstone block, activating a light as well as a music box. This simultaneously went along with a signal under that led it to the redstone door, which was set on a timer to only go after 3 note blocks have been heard, which was just set by using some repeaters to make a timer. This would reverse the signal on the door, opening it up, as well as playing that note block on the top, signaling the go. As I mentioned, the best use of this would be for the start of a minigame, as it has a countdown timer leading to the opening of the door, and whatever behind that door would be your minigame, and it would be a self-contained system that you could reset and control which players got into the game as you had a certain time to enter before it closed, as well as giving them audio and visual cues that the game is starting. But this is one of the simple yet effective uses of the depleting repeater and its many functions, which after this I wanted to expand upon, so that's what I did next. After I found that the redstone had a weird effect when placed in this way, I wanted to try different options, first being the repeater, but this had no effect. Either way it was placed, it wouldn't do anything. Next, I tried to extend the signal by adding a repeater somewhere in the mix, still having the redstone connected to the torch like it was before, but also having a repeater in between somewhere to extend the length, hopefully, of my creation. All I got was a standard clock, because in the way I set it up, it just ended up like an earlier design, so I understood why that happened. I had hope for the comparator, but placed facing the redstone torch, it didn't do anything, but you could change that singular torch on the comparator. When flipped around, it lit up the two torches, but didn't do anything spectacular, and just kind of ended up being disappointing, so that failed as well. I wanted to upgrade my creation, and what I really wanted to focus on was the length, because it didn't last very long, and that was my biggest problem with it. If I was able to extend that, I wanted to find out how. While I wasn't able to do that, my basic idea was to stack a ton of redstone clocks on top of each other. Then I would connect them somehow in order to be set off by each other, meaning if I started one at the bottom, it would cause a chain reaction, lengthening that current as it kept moving on to the next redstone clock, continuing the cycle as many times as I built up. But this didn't pan out, though I did find something else interesting. If you stacked two depleting clocks on top of each other and then only moved the top block of the first depleting clock with a piston, you were actually able to activate both at the same time. While this didn't move up to any higher height, if you did extend your piston system and connect it to have it activate all at the same time, you would be able to have multiple stacked on top of each other, all activating simultaneously with the flick of a lever or the hit of a pressure plate. This simply allowed you to have more activation and places to attach things to be controlled by this depleting clock, rather than just making a ton of separate systems that took a lot more redstone to complete. With this design, I was able to make a quick music player, and with different ways of hitting the pressure plate, this would result in different actions, sometimes activating both at the same time, other times with one coming after the other, and this would result in different patterns being played, which was all basically randomized, but it still offered a fun second creation that added on to my basic concept that I made in the first place. Well, guys, that's all I had on the depleting redstone clock. It was an interesting find, and I did what I could, but if I find any other possible uses, I'll be sure to make a follow-up video entailing whatever I'm able to come up with. With that being said, that's going to be, of course, the end of the video, so comment down below what you think you're going to use this for, as well as if you found it interesting. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy, and see you guys next time.